There we go. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Alice, an artist and soon to be AE graduate. My talk today is going to be about working in game dev with friends, specifically how to navigate production in a way that doesn't put your relationships on the line. But before I start, I would like to state that this talk is based on my own experience as an art lead on non-commercial projects, which were all done remotely. So the lessons I learned may not be applicable to every situation. In a way, working on projects with friends can be compared to breaking out a game of Monopoly. You start out with the premise of having some fun, but has the potential to drag on indefinitely to the point of burnout, or going the more famous route where everyone gets in a tussle and never speaks to each other for weeks afterwards. However, unlike Monopoly, when you work on a game with mates, you all go into it with at least with a desire to buckle up and have something together. Avoiding being an uninspiring, disconnected, neglectful member of a team starts with one piece of advice to live by, which is listen to others. It seems like a throwaway statement, listen to others. You may say to yourself, oh, but I already do that. That's great. The magic here comes from the nuance. It's not just about hearing words being transmitted to your brain, it's about understanding and responding to what you're listening to and what's happening. Understanding your team is quintessential to a harmonious work environment, and especially when working online, reading the room is more important than ever. Even when you're working with friends, the lack of face-to-face contact makes it very difficult to pick up on how you're being interpreted. I found that checking with the team did wonders to open up genuine communication, as it keeps everybody from being kept in the dark. With remote working, there is immediate potential for miscommunication. As you may have experienced yourselves, conveying subtleties like sarcasm online is very difficult and easily misinterpreted. As an example, you could make a joke about how an outlandishly overscoped feature would be perfect for the game, but fall flat because perhaps you spoke a bit too seriously. In situations like this, I found it useful to gauge reactions, and if your statements don't match what you intended, such as laughter and applause for the previous example, sweeping it to the side would only cause more problems. Being dismissive of how your team members could feel about the things you say is a no-go zone. So, clarification is king here. Make your intentions clear and apologize if necessary. To keep it relevant to the example, perhaps you'd say, nah, don't worry guys, I don't really want to do high fidelity first midnight game, I'm just messing around. It's a relatively casual statement, but it clearly defines what you meant to say. To add an extra layer onto this point, if a team member has reacted negatively to something that was said, whether they sound unhappy or have disengaged from discussion, apologies are an absolute must. What was said may have been a joke, but listening to the team member's reaction and taking responsibility rectifies unnecessary headbutting and strengthens both your communication and relationship. Reaching out privately goes a long way. Whether it would be pulling them aside into a separate chat or contacting them through DMs, taking the opportunity to check up on them and providing an apology is a great place to start. Do note that it's also of importance to sort out the miscommunications at hand so that you both catch up to each other and get on the same page. During game dev, conversations can get really passionate and involved. In group discussions, we're all firing off ideas about how problems should be solved, completely shutting somebody down and straight up just saying no to their idea is a fruitless notion. I learned that instead of saying a hard no, building off their idea is a good way to go. And if their suggestion sounds risky, offering to quickly test it or gently explaining why it may not work goes a long way to making somebody feel heard. Another obstacle working on a group project, which I'm sure almost everybody has encountered at some point, is that not everybody will do equal amounts of work. Perhaps they're experiencing personal issues, or perhaps they naturally work in a slower momentum. People working at different paces is no surprising occurrence. However, naturally when friendships are thrown into the mix, and the stresses and crunches of game dev start to weigh on everyone, tensions can come knocking around the block. The phrase listen to others applies heavily here. If a team member is taking an unusually long time to finish their task, the uncompassionate choice would be to leave them alone and quietly sieve while you do your own work. But like I said earlier, reaching out strengthens communication and keeps everyone on the same page. Sometimes it's as simple as messaging, how are you going? Or pulling them aside and asking about how they're going with their work. Giving them a private opportunity to be open and honest without fear of being ridiculed was what I found to be the best way to support team members through a rough time. From there, you could negotiate lightening the workload or giving them a different task to do if they're struggling. On the flip side of the coin, the keyword is honesty. You may feel embarrassed that you overestimated your abilities or guilty about holding the team back, but being comfortably open about what's going on increases the trust between yourself and the team members who could very well likely just be worried about their friend. But to wrap all of this up in a nice snappy little sentence, honesty and understanding can keep your friendships afloat amongst the stresses of game dev. Thanks for having me on and listening to my talk.